Hey, I'm audible enough. Can you just comment if you can hear me? All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for taking out your time to join us on this wonderful diary. 7 diaries. How you can break forth into the industry. We've had wonderful, speakers from presentation channel. So while we await our speaker for today, just a brief introduction. Diary of Hacker is an initiative that brings cybersecurity enthusiasts together, students across the country. They hear where they hear from industry experts on trending issues and how they get started in ethical hacking. So this morning we are privileged to have Mr. Sadiq Nasir that will be joining us. And when he told me about the topic, it was the first time I actually heard of it. But I am very sure it so, and we hope to have more wonderful, time together, especially these new months that we are. It's gonna be a hands-on session. Trust me, don't wanna miss it. You wouldn't want to miss. All right, so I'm trying to contact Mr. Sadiq to see what the problem is. All right, I think he's trying to set up. So, how has been the diary so far? For those that have been joining us, I think you've been enjoying the session. Okay. All right. Thank you. Rootfish, you're welcome. Birma Marcos, you're welcome. Rootfish, thank you very much for joining us again. You've been with us since the inception. Odenika, Joseph, you're welcome as well. Thank you very much. All right, Kevin, Joseph, I see you. Johnson, rather. So, hey, this. Let's just wait a bit while he tried to set up. So, who is Mr. Sadiq Nasir? As in, I was so thrilled when I heard his voice this morning. As in, he's fully loaded, trust me. So, Sadiq is an innovator and social entrepreneur, a motivated and highly dynamic technology manager with proven technical expertise, strategic development, his prowess, and he has over a decade of experience delivering complex projects. Wow. Bespoke solutions and process improvement initiative for reputable companies in highly pressurizing setting. He's a natural leader, an accomplished communicator with first-class interpersonal skill, and a proven record developing strategic strong client and stakeholder relationship, as well as motivating teams to achieve technical and business goals. And he's a member of quite a lot of uh, organization. He's a member of British Computer Society. He's a member of the Nigerian Institute of Management, Computer Professional Registration Council of Nigeria, the Nigeria Computer Society, as well as the Project Management Institute. He's also a member of the Nigerian Leadership Initiative. Thank you very much, sir, for having us on this diary, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, sir, you're welcome. So I was trying to read your profile just before you came in.
Yes,
So we are so privileged to have you. Thank you for honoring this invitation and extend your knowledge to the students of cybersecurity science across the country as well as the enthusiasts.
okay, good.
Yes, sir. So you have the floor, sir.
All right, thank you very much for this. Let me share my screen and then we go live. Can you see my screen now? Hello?
Yes, I
Hello?
can see your screen. Yeah, yes, sir, I can see it.
Okay, good. A few years ago, I received a phone call from a good friend of mine. His complaint was, my wife just lost a 1 million naira. And I was wondering, how did that happen? He says she received the phone call urging her to provide her banking information, her username, her password, and he did have some personal information about her. So she was comfortable to provide that information. The minute she did, 1 million naira got wiped off her account. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sadiq Nasir. Today we are going to be talking about cybersecurity compendium. We're going to look at the what, the how, the where, the why, and to what extent does cybersecurity affect us individually and as a group. My name is Sadiq Nasser, as you've heard in the introduction. So during this short presentation, I will tell you a bit about me, which you've already heard most of it. I hope that justice was done to my tiny profile. We're going to look at cybersecurity as a core, what it is, the various types. We're going to look at hackers. We're going to look at vulnerabilities, threats, how to achieve cybersecurity. This is basically cybersecurity hygiene. So cyber hygiene. The common lies you hear about cybersecurity and perhaps possible career path, because from my understanding is some of the audience here have already chosen a career path within cybersecurity. Some are just about to join. So this discussion would be centered towards everybody's advantage. So the people that are already in the field would be able to learn a thing or two about cybersecurity, and hopefully I would learn from you as well. Then we go into the conclusion. So, as you have heard about me, I'm a cybersecurity advocate and a social entrepreneur, and of course, you've heard a lot about my professional membership. So, what is cybersecurity? Cybersecurity is defined as the art of being protected against criminals and or unauthorized use of electronic data. Here we have three constructs that are very important to cybersecurity. We have confidentiality. This here refers to as how confidential is this data that we're trying to protect, and its availability. Is it available when you need it? And also its integrity. Does it have integrity? So this is referred to the CIA triad, that's confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So cybersecurity is actually everybody's responsibility. It affects both the cybersecurity experts, the technical people, and the non-technical people. There's a false misconception that gets people to believe that cybersecurity is only for the techies or the cybersecurity expert. No, because cybersecurity cuts across different status of various endeavor. For example, it affects kids. How it affects kids is cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is a construct that affect everyone of us. For example, for the kids, sometimes people take pictures of their classmates, for example, or other youths, and they put them up on social media with the view that they're having fun. Okay, my classmate is sleeping. You take a picture of him and you put it up on social media, or you take a picture of your friend eating food in a funny way and then you put it up on social media, and then everybody has a laugh. But are you sure the person that you're taking a picture of him, he's actually laughing? Because sometimes it can affect their self-esteem. Maybe they're not happy with the pictures that you put. So it's essential when you're taking pictures of individuals, you actually alert them, okay, I'm going to take a picture of you. If you provide his consent, then you can go ahead and take a picture. But it's actually very, very wrong to take pictures of people without alerting them. Then, of course, the youths as well. I've talked about the kids. I've talked about the youths. It affects them as well. Then, for parents, as a parent, what are the necessary cybersecurity measures that you need to take to protect your kids? A term here that is very popular is called sharenting. Sharenting involves the act of taking pictures of your kids and putting them up online. Now, on the surface, there's really nothing wrong with that. But the question you want to ask yourself is 10, 15, 20 years from now, with your kids' pictures available online, will they be happy to have these pictures like of themselves? Because it's important to have to protect your kids as much as possible. That's on the parent side. Now, still on the parent side, on the kids, how much information do you provide to your kids? Okay, with in regards to internet access. For example, most kids have access to the internet these days. You see kids accessing various social media platforms, and a lot of these social media platforms have age restrictions. For example, I think Facebook has age restriction of 13. Now your kid, is he up to that age, the person accessing that in website? Because it's important for them to be of that age, so that way they're up to a certain level of maturity. And it's also good for you to have control of what your kids access. So there are various applications that you can install on your laptops, on your tablets, to ensure that you limit what your kids access online. Because I'll give you a more relatable experience. We were working on a one laptop project in 2006. It involves us giving laptops to young kids children in primary school age. And this was the first time they were actually having access to the internet in their lives. And within 30 minutes of getting access to this internet, we heard kids screaming on the background. Yay! So we were wondering what were they screaming about? And then lo and behold, when we digged further, we found out that someone actually got access to a pornographic site. And these are kids that are perhaps less than 10 years old. And how were they able to access this? We don't know, but it actually brought to our attention that, okay, we need to put filters on these tablets or on these machines so that these kids don't get access, because the internet is a very, very dangerous place if not properly protected. So, as a parent, you need to express interest in what your kids do. For example, if you have a desktop at home as a parent, you need to ensure that you can actually monitor what your kids do. A simple technique that works is you can actually position your desktop so, as a parent, if you're passing by, you can actually have an overview of what your child is browsing online. So that's how cybersecurity affects parents. And then on an organizational level, of course, there are lots of information being processed within organization. You have to ensure that this data is actually protected, so you don't have unauthorized access. Now, cybersecurity affects us. I mean, cybersecurity affects different domains. from minecore.com as a source. These are some of the critical domains that have been highlighted by this website. First of all, we have critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure here refers to as the electricity grid, the water purification, that's the water boards, the traffic light systems, and what have you. Although we do understand that some of this critical infrastructure in this country that we live in may not have been like automated per se, but the general idea is we need to be aware that these critical infrastructures need to be protected. For example, if someone has unauthorized access to the national grid or the electricity, what are the potential dangers? What are the potential risks? Well, if someone has unauthorized access to these facilities, for example, it might be him providing access to, sorry, granting himself units of credits that he is not worthy. That means he's stealing from the PHCN, if you like. And then on the water purification side, of course, we have the water treatment plants. All these infrastructures needs to be properly protected. Then in some countries, we have the traffic lights that have been automated. So this automation can be easily hijacked by the people and then cause all sorts of mishaps. Then on the application security level, we have the antivirus protection programs, we have the firewalls, we have the encryption programs. Then on the network security, we've got the issues that affect us, such as logins, the passwords, and then, of course, another construct that affects most of us is cloud computing or cloud security. This here, cloud computing, essentially refers to as having your access to online information. For example, a lot of industries are now moving to cloud-based as compared to the on-premise. So how does cybersecurity affect you as a user of this cloud security? Okay. And then the next domain we need to look at is the Internet of Things. Internet of Things refers to everything being online. Everything being online. We're talking about the CCTVs being online. We're talking about the fridge, your fridge being online, because we have with new technologies available, we have all these devices that are gradually getting connected to online. So, and cybersecurity affects us all this information because the more devices we have connected online, the more we have to think about cybersecurity as it affects all these devices and how can we go about protecting them. Okay, the importance of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity, like I've mentioned, it's very, very important because we need to protect various data. An example of such data is health information. Health information actually needs to be adequately protected because health information is confidential information. If someone has access to unauthorized access to health information, there is unlimited amount of a limited amount of use they could have for that. Of course, we have to protect the personal information, industry information. The industry information here refers to as like, for example, we have espionage, industry espionage. Some organizations actually spy on each other just to get ahead and have a competitive advantage. Then another thing I would like to talk about here, still on the importance, people always ask, okay, there's a lot of construct involved, a lot of terminologies, a lot of things involved in cybersecurity. What's the one thing I could do to protect myself? So once I do that, I know that, okay, I'm protected end to end, and that's it. Well, the thing is, there is no right or wrong way to answer that, but it's important to understand there is no silver bullet, means that there is no one protection that you could do. So for the protection, we have the technology aspect and then the human aspect. The human aspect has always and will always be the weakest link, and it always provide the most vulnerability in terms of cyber security. So it's important to understand that there is no one solution or one technique or one strategy that you would use to provide this defense mechanism, if you like, that provides you with all the protection. Now, it is important for us to understand the terminologies. So for those of you that know what a hacker is, you would have to forgive us because we have to run quickly through what a hacker is. So for the benefit of those that don't know what a hacker is. So basically a hacker is someone that has unauthorized access to data, okay? And there are various types of hackers here. First of all, we have the black hat hackers. Secondly, we have the white hat hackers. And then, of course, we have the gray hackers. So first off, we have the black hackers. The black hackers are people that attempt to gain access to unauthorized information for malicious intent. And then we have the white hackers. The white hackers are considered as the good guys, the people that would look at vulnerabilities in the system and attempt to fix it. For example, some high-end organizations actually hire people that have the requisite hacking knowledge. And the reason they do that is so that they can find vulnerabilities within the systems with the view that they can actually patch them. By patching means they can actually provide protection to this system. And then we have the gray hackers. The gray hackers are another group of hackers here that can cut across that cross across being between good and bad. What that means is sometimes these hackers attempt to do it with good intentions. Okay, they find loopholes within the system and then they alert the system users of the various loopholes that exist within the system. And sometimes they tend to use it and say, okay, I found some vulnerabilities within your system, and I'd like to pay you to pay a small token. In the last couple of weeks, or in the last couple of days rather, a lot of us would have come across Hush Puppy, the name Hush Puppy. Hush Puppy happens to be an Instagram celebrity, and recently he was arrested by the Dubai police. What was he accused of? He was accused of hijacking over 2 million people, or close to 2 million people, who he has stolen so much from them, over £1 billion. And how do they achieve? How does Hush Puppy and his group achieve this? Essentially, what they do is they go on social media platform or on e-commerce website and attempt to interface between the real e-commerce website and the system user. So thereby they act as intermediaries. So when you try to make payments, you think that you're making payments to that e-commerce website, but unknown to you that the system has been hijacked. So you end up paying Hush Puppy and his crew, and thereby this has made them so rich. And by our definition of a black hat hacker rather, this qualifies Hush Puppy and Momfa to be in this group of hackers. And of course, one of the methodologies that was revealed by the investigators carrying out this investigation was to see, okay, what do they post on their social media? Okay, so the more information they post, the more it provides them with the adequate information to be able to study their patterns. For example, for every picture you take, known to you or unknown to you, your smartphones actually store what they call a metadata. A metadata, it's essentially the information that is captured by your phone picture. A metadata comprises of location, the type of the phone you use, and investigators can actually use this to track your information, where you pose this picture from. And this is how they used to track Momfa, studied his lifestyle, his whereabouts, and they were able to actually track him in his house, and were able to that led to his arrest. And now they have overwhelming evidence against these groups of people, and then prosecution is definitely inevitable, and God help them. So the idea is to be aware of these types of various hackers, how they do their things on a general spectrum, and then how you can protect yourself. Now, what are the various vulnerabilities that exist within the cybersecurity space? We've got phishing. We're going to talk about phishing in a bit of detail here, and how it affects every one of us being the cybersecurity practitioners and those that are non-practitioners, where we talk about a bit about password data encryption. Encryption here refers to as how protected is this information that you're providing. For example, when you chat on WhatsApp or when you use WhatsApp application, you should be aware that generally WhatsApp as an application provide end-to-end encryption. One of the things here that WhatsApp does is they provide two-way encryption. By that means that you're required to provide a PIN for you to use WhatsApp. That provides extra layer for protection, because if you don't provide a PIN for your WhatsApp, that means every time you want to use WhatsApp, there should be a PIN. That means someone can easily hijack your WhatsApp and perhaps start soliciting for funds from other people through your WhatsApp. Then, of course, we have substandard backup and recovery. Substandard backup is you need to understand what are the various industry standard backup methodology that are available. Okay, as a parent or as a user of a system, or as a student of cybersecurity, what are the various ways in which you can have backup? An example is cloud backup. For example, iPhone provides you with the iCloud backup. So as an iPhone user, you should be aware that you can back up your system through iCloud. So that means that even if you lose your phone, you still have access to your personal data. And then, of course, it's also very, very essential to provide the right needed passwords for your backup. Then, if you run an organization, okay, what are the various data recovery methodologies that are available? Do you back up your data and store them online? Do you back up your data and store them in the same locations? So you need to think about what's important to you with regards to data backup, data recovery. Then, of course, we have you need to have good authentication management. You need to have good monitoring tool, network tool for if you run an organization or you manage the security of your organization. You need to be aware of all the current trends in terms of network monitoring. Then, of course, let's look a bit about phishing. Phishing is actually spelled with a PH, like the name implies here, is an attempt to acquire personal information such as username, password, credit card information such as MasterCard through an unauthorized means. And one of the ways they do this is, for example, you might receive an email advising you to update your banking information, your BVN perhaps, and it appears to be from your bank. That's a classic example of a phishing attempt. Phishing attempt is a deceptive means. Okay, sometimes these hackers generate bulk emails to random people, and they have various means of collecting these email addresses. For example, if you do send forwards, they can actually look up this email addresses from forwards and then target you as a subject for their malicious intent. Then, of course, we have various types of phishing incidents. Like you can see on the slides, we have session hijackers, we have web Trojan horse, we have keyloggers. Keyloggers are basically a way to intercept information that you type on your keyboard. So, for example, if you use a desktop, someone can actually put a keylogger or key grabber in between your keyboard and your desktop. So effectively, any information you type gets stored into this keylogger, and this keylogger can actually be software driven or hardware driven. So the important thing is to be aware that these kind of systems exist, and if you notice any irregularities, maybe from between your keyboard and your desktop, I think you should flag it off. If you work for an organization, you should be able to flag off with the IT guys and say, okay, what's this device? I don't think it's usual. It could be a keylogger for all you know. So you should be aware that these kind of things exist so that you can better protect yourself. And of course, we have a man in the middle attack, whereby someone stands between you and the system you're trying to access and then misdirects you to be able to gain access to unauthorized information. Am I still audible? Hello? I believe I'm still audible. So I'll go on. Okay. Causes of email, this phishing, we have misleading emails, failure to verify sources, or like if you get an email, you should be able to verify this. in the next couple of slides, I'll show you how to do it. Vulnerabilities of browsers and applications. These are some of the methodologies used by hackers to gain access to the victims. Okay, and then of course, no strong authentication on platforms. For example, the platform you use, you need to verify that okay, this platform actually have the high-end security methodologies. Okay, and then we talked about lack of user awareness as an important. As a user, as a regular user, you need to have the requisite skill set. By requisite skill set, you need to be aware of, like I've said, you need to be aware of what are the various methodologies that hackers use so you can better protect themselves. Now, as an ordinary user, how do you identify what a phishing attack is? Okay, one of the methodologies you can use is the quality of presentation. Look at the email. If it's an email you receive and you're not sure if it's from the company or the e-commerce company, you need to look at the style of presentation. Okay, by style of presentation means that does it have any grammatical errors? Was it done by professional? But of course, these guys that do this thing have done it over and over again, like so they've mastered the art. But you as a user, you need to be aware of these things. And sometimes when they send you an email, they usually send you a warning saying that okay, you have to update your banking information, which is the most popular means for these guys, within maybe 24 hours or the next couple of hours, with a sense of urgency. And if you're not really aware of this, you might be obliged to want to give up all this information they're requiring from you. So when you see this information, you're best to reach out to maybe the e-commerce website that has sent you this information. If it's your banking information, if it's to do with your bank, you're supposed to reach out to your bank directly just to confirm this if this email you received from them. Okay, and so for example, like I've mentioned earlier, if you receive an alert, like for example, personally, I've received a notification from Apple saying that okay, a transaction has been conducted on my account, and this is the unit that I should click here to maybe verify that. But of course, I did not do that. I was not aware of that transaction. And for me, the email looked very, very fishy. So one of the things I did was to do an email trace. So for example, what that means is for every email you send, it actually has a header. By header means you can use that email to dig up on who sent that email, from what location. But of course, these are information that are hidden from the ordinary viewer. But of course, there are various tools that you can use online just to make a quick verification. So what I did was once I received that email, I simply went online, copied that email, pasted it onto this tool. I did a quick run of analysis, and I found out that that email actually came from Lagos. And I'm thinking, okay, Apple Lagos, and that's interesting. That's a funny one. But I knew that, of course, I had my suspicion. So what I did was I used a second tool of analyzing tool, and I was able to establish that that email was nothing more than a phishing email scam. So I simply ignored it. But these are some of the things that you can do as an ordinary user just to verify phishing email. So this is another example of a notification for phishing. Okay, here the user of the system, or you received an email saying that congratulations, you have won XYZ. Click here to claim your reward. But of course, as a typical user, as an ordinary user, you should think to yourself, did I apply for any challenge? Why was I being selected for this grant opportunity or whatever it is? Okay, and these are some of the things that you need to ask yourself. And if you did genuinely apply for such, then you should be able to have further conversations with the authorities that gave you this or the company before you start giving out personal information, because a lot of people are actually going into this Yahoo, if you like. Yahoo is basically is a term that has been coined by us Nigerians to qualify people that are black hackers or people that steal information from other people. And of course, in Yahoo, we have Yahoo, and then Yahoo Plus. These are all groups of people that attempt to steal information from ordinary citizens that have no idea sometimes of what to do. On a more personal level, a few years ago, I was actually I received a number of deductions from my domiciliary account, and I knew that I had nothing to do with those services that I was deducted for. An example was one of them was Uber service, and at that time I knew that I've never subscribed to any Uber service as at that time. So what I did was simply reach out to my bank, show them evidence that some deductions were done from my account, and I provided this evidence, show them my banking transaction. So what the bank simply did was they looked retrospectively to understand what happened. And of course, at the tail end of it, I was able to get my refund. But you can imagine if I was not proactive, if I didn't get any SMS alert, that means my money would have just been taken and I wouldn't have had any way to go about it. Of course, we moving on to results of phishing. We have identity theft, loss of data, ransomware. Ransomware here is an interesting topic by itself because ransomware here refers to as the ability of a hacker or someone who to illicitly gain access to your data and be able to hijack it. So it is more like a kidnapping of your data. For example, in the most recent years, we've had ransomware such as WannaCry. WannaCry was a state-owned. It was suspected to be a state-owned data breach. By that means, it was believed that it was some nation around the world made this ransomware to be able to steal money from people. Essentially, what they did was they were able to reach out to. Once you click on that link, it hijacks your system and then advises you that you have to make payment. Otherwise, you would not be able to gain access to your information. And that's just too bad for the organizations that fell victim of it. And of course, this results to a lot of financial losses for the organizations and for the law enforcement. Is actually very Cybersecurity is actually a very, very challenging field to actually investigate. And the reason for that is those hackers tend to be one step ahead of the authorities. And when it happens, then it's always challenging for the authorities to work backwards to actually investigate what happened and how to go about this retrieving this information that was stolen, be it money, be it data or whatever. And of course, it leads to erosion of public trust. For example, if your university was hacked and then one or two abnormalities was done with the university's website, for example, it leads to erosion of public trust. Okay, and then how to achieve cybersecurity or cyber hygiene. Okay, so one of the key things you could do to protect yourself is do not open attachment that you don't trust. Okay, for example, if you receive an email from a company called ABC and you're not really sure why ABC is sending you such an attachment, saying that okay, click on this attachment to or view, click here to view an attachment, you should always question these sources. Are you expecting an email from that XYZ company? Okay, these are the questions you ask yourself. Okay, another thing is when you go, like for example, when you go and see public Wi-Fi, it's always good to remember: do not access banking information or do not access social media accounts from from this public Wi-Fi. Why is that important? Because it's easy for hackers to actually intercept in public Wi-Fi and be able to steal your personal information. So, for example, if you happen to be in the hospital, and or if you happen to be in a public transport system or hotel, and then you see a public free Wi-Fi, you can connect. There's nothing wrong with that, but you should always be careful on the sites you visit while accessing those personal information. One of the things you could do if you really need to access is you can install a VPN. A VPN is nothing but virtual private network. It gives you an extra layer of protection. So you would ask, maybe as a non-technical person, what is this VPN? How can I get it? Well, it's simple. If you're using your device, um, you simply go to the App Store. If where App Store, be it if you're using Android or Apple, just go to the relevant store and just search for VPN. And then, of course, you look for the free one to try them out and see how well they work. Normally, they give you a trial version of 2, 3, 4, 5 days, some a week. You can try them out. So once you have this VPN centered, it actually masks and protects you and protects every information that you're about to put out there. So you can go ahead and do your online transactions or whatever you need to do. And of course, you need to be aware of free stuff. There is no such thing as a free lunch. People would say, if you see that, okay, you've won this, you've won that, you always need to verify. Is the company doing a promo? You can even call the company and say, okay, I received this email, I just need to confirm. Is your company doing a free promo? Is the university doing a free promo? For example, if it's a university that says, okay, you received an email from the university. And of course, another thing is to password. Password is always a very difficult one because you are required to have degrees level of complexity with your password, and which each degree of complexity you're supposed to balance that out with something you can remember. In the next coming slide, I will talk to you a bit more in depth about password, because this affects everybody, both us, the cybersecurity practitioners, and then us, some of the viewers that are non-cybersecurity practitioners. What are the various password methodologies that you can use to protect yourself? How can you remember these passwords? Okay, we'll talk about that in the next coming slides. Still on the how to achieve cybersecurity, cyber hygiene is do not do business with companies that are non-credible. Okay, so for example, if you want to go and do shopping with a regular e-commerce website, make sure that you type the address on the URL, like www. that company's domain name, for example, www.abc.com. Make sure you go there and type it, like physically type it, so you don't get misdirected. And of course, if there's a new e-commerce website or an Instagram website and they are selling shoes, selling all different sorts of products online, one of the things you could do is you can look out for someone that perhaps has done business with them. You can do a quick online just do a quick Google search on that company, because sometimes we have a lot of companies on Instagram, to be specific, that poses to sell all sorts of tools that might fancy you. But the truth is, a lot of these companies might actually be fraudulent. But the question is, how do you know that they're fraudulent or not? So, like I said, you can ask around, you can do a quick Google search, especially if you've not done any financial transactions with them. Moving on, it's always a good idea to have a secondary email address for your other transactions online. For example, you can have a secondary email addresses that you use to subscribe to various services online. Okay, you want to subscribe to a new service, be it maybe a new shopping website, or be it you want to subscribe to a new offering. It's always a good idea to have a secondary website. The advantage of that is, even that if that email address get compromised, it's not your primary email addresses that have all the rest of your personal information. And of course, one thing to do is, when it comes to online transaction, I mean, online transaction are perfectly safe. We're not discouraging you not to do online transaction, but before you do any online transaction, you need to be aware that what are the methodologies that you can use to protect yourself. One of which is you should always use one MasterCard or Visa card, okay, for your transaction. That way, it gives you the ability to control. And another thing is, most of these banks these days in Nigeria, to be more specific, they provide you with when you have a MasterCard or Visa card, they provide you with a domiciliary account, for example. Okay, so for example, if you need to buy something of $1, 10,000 naira, so what you can do is you can simply keep your MasterCard or Visa card empty. You only make transfer from your current or savings account into that account, just that amount you need to transact. So thereby, what that means is, for example, if your email address gets if your MasterCard or Visa card gets compromised, there is no money there. Okay. So let me repeat myself. You just put just the right amount of money that you need to do the transaction. And this is made simple by, of course, since we have online banking platforms. So you just simply go online if you need to make a transaction worth $5. You just simply go online and just put just that $5 that you need for that transaction from your current account or savings account or domiciliary account. That provides you with what you call it. That provides you with extra layers of protection in case your Mastercard gets compromised. And then you would want to ask, okay, my MasterCard is always with me. I've never given it to anyone. Well, there are various ways in which your banking information can be accessed. It might be through your bank. Maybe the banking information was compromised and then they can easily gain access. It might be someone else find a way to steal your credit card or MasterCard. So you always have to take the necessary precautions. And another key thing I would like to emphasize here that is very, very important is do not save your your card information on a web browser. Okay, because sometimes your browser might ask you uh, for your permission, of course, to save your information. That way, when you come to do online transactions, it's easy for you to remember. Don't do that. Okay, always decline when your web browser advises you to save your information online. Still on the topic of cyber hygiene. For anyone that just joined us, cyber hygiene is essentially the steps that you can use to protect yourself, be it you a cybersecurity practitioner or just an ordinary web user who has little or no knowledge of cybersecurity. So when you're shopping online, always ensure that the website you're going to visit has that HTTPS. For example, here on the right, you can see it says HTTPS colon forward slash forward slash. So you always want to look out for that S. If it doesn't have that S, what that means is it may not necessarily have the requisite protection to protect you. Okay, so when you see the HTTPS, that S means that you have that extra layer of protection. Okay, then of course you want to keep track of your transactions. Okay, you need to know how much. Okay, you made a transaction of $5. You made a transaction of 10,000 naira, 1,000 naira. You need to be aware of all these transactions that you make. That way, you can be rest assured that when you see your bank statements, you can be rest assured that all the transactions you can verify them. Then, of course, it helps to actually look at your bank statement time to time, because sometimes it's possible that your alert might not really work from the bank, and then you can be defrauded. But without looking at your bank statement casually, you don't have. You can just do it not like once in a while. Just look at your bank statement, maybe at the end of the month, to see okay what transaction transpired within your account. So that way, any transaction that you see that you're not familiar with, you can always go back to your bank for explanation as to what happened here. And of course, passwords are always a troubling issue because you would have a plethora of social media accounts, a plethora of services that you subscribe to. So, as a technical person or non-technical person, what are the methodologies that you can use to remember these passwords? Okay, what are the industry best practices? Okay, just some of them are never write it down. Okay, it's like some of us that have come of a certain age, you want to write your password down, and then you say, okay, this is a password for my Hotmail, this is a password for my Gmail, and then write it down. Okay, a typical scenario is someone intercepts that password. What do you think would happen? Okay, especially if that person has a malicious act. And then some people say, oh, okay, I'm not at work, but my colleague or my friend, can you help me go online and help me register? For example, if it's the end of the semester, sorry, it's the beginning of the semester, and you're not able to log into your online university account, you might be tempted to tell your friend or your brother to just go online and help you register online. No, 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 that's a very bad practice. Or if you happen to be an employee of an organization and you're not able to access your passwords or your services, you might be tempted to tell your friend, okay, can you please go online and send this email from this person to that person. That's actually generally a no-no, because the thing is, passwords are supposed to be secrets. Okay, if someone has access to your password, there's no limit to which they could do. For example, okay, you're in good terms now, but what happens if in the long run you have a fallout with that person, and that person still remembers your password? He can go ahead and blackmail you or do all sorts of malicious intent. Okay, so moving on, still on the password issue, don't use the same password twice. For example, your password might be ABCD1234 as an example. Avoid using that password repeatedly, and avoid using the same password spread across your social media platform, because I believe the reason why we like using social media as an example is because most of us have access to social medias, and then we have passwords spread across the same password spread across all these social media platforms. So that means when someone has access to your Twitter account, to your Facebook, there's no limit to which you can do because you use the same password throughout. And then you should also, as a best practice, okay, purposely misspell words. For example, you want to write book as your password, for example, maybe book 1234. So you can write capital letter B, then you write a B-O-C rather than K. So that's a deliberate attempt to misspell. What that means is, even if someone, it makes it more difficult for someone to actually hack into your account. And believe it or not, there are actually high-end solutions that once you provide, this just for general note, this just to know that the high-end solutions, once you provide the name of the system, a username, it's only a matter of time before it hacks your password. Okay, so it keeps trying different random trials. What that means is, the more complex your password, the more you are given such robotic systems a difficult task to actually crack. Okay, so that means some passwords actually, they can be cracked within a minute. Some might even take like an entire year to crack. So the more complex your password, the more difficult it is for any system or any individual to crack. Okay, and also remember to use uppercase and lowercase. So whenever you're trying to subscribe to one or two services, you will discover that they're asking you, use lowercase, use high case, and you are like, okay, why are they asking me this? It's simple, because it makes your password difficult to crack. So an easy way to achieve this is, at the beginning of the of your password, you can easily put big letter, or rather capital letter, and then the rest can be small letters. Okay, mix and match. Okay, never use your name, for example, as your password. Like if your name is Sadiq, in my own case, I should not use Sadiq as my password, because it's easy for anybody to just first guess, okay, so let me try Sadiq, Sadiq 1234, Sadiq, blah, blah, just different combinations. Okay, and more on how to get secure, more if you want to do more reading, you can go to How Secure Is My Password, just to do your own personal research. And there on this website, it tells you how long your password it would take to be cracked. So I'll repeat, this is called How Secure Is My Password.net. It's good for you to just be aware as for your own personal research. Okay, some of the other cyber hygiene practices I would like to emphasize here is, always shut down or lock your computer or your device. For example, if you need to leave your device unattended for a short while, for example, if you're in a hostel, if you're a student, ensure that you lock your computer. If you need to step into the toilet, and if you're an employee for an organization, you need to use a toilet or you need to step away from your computer, always ensure that you lock it. For example, on a more personal experience, I had a friend who I used to work with some years back. He was telling me that, okay, I've got this Kaspersky antivirus. It's supposed to be really good, high-end solution. My system is like protected end to end. And I heard him. I needed to prove a point to him. So my task here was just to act like as a white hacker. So I distracted him for just a split second, and I was able to install a malicious software in the system, and I was able to actually hijack his system and just make his system do all sorts of activities. And it got him really, really confused as to what's going on here. So a few minutes later, after I finished having my laughs, I just called his attention. Okay, do you know what just happened? I actually hijacked your computer. And then he was like, how, when, at what point? I said, well, I simply distracted you and I was able to hijack your computer just to prove to you that there is no silver bullet. There is no one solution that you can do that provide access to, sorry, provide protection. And just for us to remember that you just have to keep in mind that, okay, what are the, you just have to keep your asking yourself as a system user, what are the various things that you can use to protect yourself, okay? And here you need to install only apps that are from a trusted site. For example, there are various sites that provide you with free softwares or cracked softwares, or another one is they provide you with free music, free movies. So whenever you're visiting the sites, it's important to know that a lot of these sites have applications that they install on your system without you knowing. So even if you have to access these sites, you need to ensure that you have a VPN running. Okay, you need to ensure that you have the latest up to antivirus running on your system. Okay, you should also back up your data regularly. For example, most of the devices that we use provides you with ability to back up either monthly, weekly, or just whatever works for you. You have to find out what works for you and then back up as regularly as possible. Okay, and if you use a system, if you can provide power surge, okay, maybe in form of inverter, in form of UPS, that so that what this means is whenever your system, whenever electricity goes off, it gives you time to actually shut down. So by that means that if your computer shuts down irregularly, continuously, that means your data can be damaged. Okay, and an important concept here is to stop, think before you post. Okay, what that means is before you post anything, especially on social media, reason why I'm going to emphasize on social media a lot is a lot of us actually visit social media 5 hours a week. Okay, and that means that you are vulnerable. Okay, so before you post anything, you have to think carefully and, okay, is this important, what I need to post, be it picture, be it comment, and how does that affect me? Okay, and then of course help spread the word. Whatever you know, ensure that you tell other people. And that's why some of us that are cybersecurity practitioners engage members of the public to educate them on on the most common trends in cybersecurity. And the reason is just to keep reminding people what are the current trends, that things that they need to be aware, because people generally tend to forget some of these practices. But the more we have awareness such as this, the more it gives us ability to interact and educate ourselves. And for us that maybe have an idea of what these things are, it serves as a reminder. Okay, it's always good to remember that, okay, your your antivirus softwares are very good, but they may not necessarily provide you with 100% security. As I've mentioned again, and I've always mentioned, it's always a lie to believe that simply because you have the latest updates on all your devices, it gives you all the protection you need. Okay, another misconception is, okay, I don't have money, so why would anybody want to hack me? Okay, this is a very, very wrong misconception, because these hackers don't really care. Your 10 naira, your 1 naira can actually be of value to them. And by the time they actually do 1 naira spread across maybe a million people, that's easily 1 million naira. And if it's, so the thing is, you limit your exposure. Okay. And another misconception is, okay, I have a small business, I only sell shoes, or I only sell um, maybe I only sell phones, for example, on social media, so I don't need cybersecurity knowledge or awareness. This actually a lie. As a small e-commerce vendor that you sell one or two things, more like your side hustle. You actually need to be aware that you are vulnerable. Okay, so as long as you're online, you're vulnerable. The best way to remain non-vulnerable is not to actually physically connect online. That's the best way. But the thing is, we cannot connect because the internet now affects our very daily lives, and it's good to actually go online to carry out your transaction. And the reason why we keep hammering on all this cybersecurity is for you to be aware that the knowledge. So we're not telling you this in order to scare you away, because sometimes when you tell people, oh, hacking, cybercrime, and all these terminologies, people tend to get scared. No, no, no. The idea is for not for you to get scared. The idea is for you to be aware of the current trends so that you too can take necessary precautions. Then, for some of us that are actually considering a career path in cybersecurity, cybersecurity is an open platform that welcomes everybody, people from a technical background and non-technical background. Okay, we have entry levels, we have mid-career levels, we have advanced career level. So you just have to identify which career path suits you and where you are for where you are potentially, okay, and where you need to go. Okay, we have various roles on the entry level. That's if you're a fresh graduate or someone that's coming from a fresh non-experienced level. Okay, we have different level of certifications, from certificate level, be it one-day certification, advanced certifications, degree programs. So you just have to identify at what level do you want to go into cybersecurity as a practitioner. Okay, you can even go into cybersecurity as a businessman. Okay, for example, we have various cybersecurity projects that are ongoing that needs to be done. For example, in some countries, they actually outsource a lot of their cybersecurity concerns to private companies. So, as an investor, you can actually set up a cybersecurity firm without actually having much about cybersecurity. So, what you can do in this case is you assemble the right team and then decide which of the market segments do you want to operate. Okay, what are the opportunities that lies there? So sometimes people get carried away thinking that okay, cybersecurity is only for the technical people. No, no, no. It's actually a field. It's an emerging field that welcomes everybody. Emerging field means that the internet started what in the 70s perhaps, and then okay, and everything around cybersecurity started building up around that. So and as the day goes on, we have cybersecurity is getting more dichotomized. Okay, so you just need to identify okay, what are the current trends, and as a student, what are the areas that are available. And you might think, okay, I didn't study cybersecurity, I didn't study computer engineering, I didn't study computer science at the university level. How can I gain access? These are some of the questions that a lot of people keep asking, and they're not because of lack of clarity. That's why some people like get put off, but it's actually a field that welcomes everyone, every person that has interest. You can actually go into it as an advocate. Okay, like a lot of us do a lot of advocacy. Advocacy means that okay, we have one or two knowledge and we are eager to spread that. Okay, that's where the whole concept of social entrepreneurship comes, and with that it comes with a lot of reward, both intended and unintended. Okay, so just bear it in mind that there's a lot of cybersecurity career path, and you should also always reach out to people that seems to have greater knowledge. And one important thing about cybersecurity to note is people think, okay, this guy is a guru in cybersecurity, so he knows it all. No, 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 no. The thing about cybersecurity, because it's such an emerging field, so whenever maybe a younger person comes to you and say, okay, look, this is the new trend, you should always make it a point to listen, because there are various trends that are emerging in the market. I remember having a conversation with someone that was much elderly than me. Then I said, okay, I know a tiny little bit about cybersecurity, and I try to reach out to people and do this. What I just general overview of what I do in cybersecurity. It's like, oh, even in my field that I'm a cybersecurity expert. I say, well, the thing about cybersecurity is nobody has a monopoly of knowledge. So even as you are, as a practitioner of cybersecurity for 20, 30 years, I can tell you that your system is still vulnerable and it may not be hacked by me, It might even be hacked by my own son or a novice. So the important thing is to remember is there is nobody that has the absolute monopoly of knowledge when it comes to cybersecurity. And like I've always said, it's a career path that welcomes everybody. So as long as you have the interest, you have all the right to actually jump into it as a career path. So just to recap on some of the things that I've said, cybersecurity is an area that affects everybody, and you should always remember that if you're doing any banking transaction online, you should always remember that your bank would probably never ask you for any personal information, and when they do, it's important to remember to reach out to your bank. You can actually call your bank if you notice any irregularities on your maybe emails or transaction or debit alerts. Just call your bank to verify this information. Okay. And one of the best ways to verify is just go to, if you bank with a bank called XYZ, just go to xyz.com, find their email address or phone number, and just reach out to them and say, okay, I need to confirm this. Are you doing a promo? Did you send me an email? So that gives you a quick idea. Okay. And like I've mentioned earlier in the earlier slide, there is no one technology that would provide you with all the ultimate security when it comes to cybersecurity. Okay, cybersecurity attacks. There's no one solution. So it's a combination of different skills, different methodologies, different tools and techniques that will provide you with the ultimate protection. Okay, and be it a student, be it a teacher, be it just an ordinary user within an organization, you have to be aware that cybersecurity is everybody's responsibility, not just the IT guys. You have to be aware of the current trends, how they do what they're doing, and then how you can protect yourself. Okay, and there is no system that is complete or perhaps secured end to end without you as the user of that system. Okay, these are some of the reference I have presented to you. So at this point, I would like to stop here and perhaps take one or two questions that perhaps some of the audience would have in terms of me giving more clarity on something that perhaps I rushed through, or some of the things that I've mentioned that requires better clarity. So at this point, I would like to stop here and hand over everything to Mr. Moses for further for further monitoring. Okay, Mr. Moses, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well,
Oh,
sir.
yes,
Thank you very much for this wonderful insight. It's such a great wealth of knowledge
yes,
shared right now in this platform. So we have a quick question. What
yep.
is the meaning of Yahoo Yahoo or Yahoo Boy, and how does it relate to the types of hacker explained on the lecture?
Okay. Essentially, Yahoo is a term coined by us Nigerians to refer to as hackers. Okay, hackers are people that actually have malicious intent, like I've defined earlier. So essentially, Yahoo are a category of hackers, and essentially, most of these Yahoo boys, their sole intention is to steal backend information. I mean, when it comes to cybersecurity, there are different people do different hacking or different things for different intents. Like I've mentioned on the topic, is called a compendium, but honestly, 1 hour 30 minutes does not provide us justice to be able to discuss in depth as convincingly for everybody to understand what are the various constructs involved in cybersecurity. But on the general surface, like I've mentioned, and I would always mention, that people that do it for different intents. Most of these Yahoo people, their intention is to steal information. Then you have other hackers from other part of the world, like we have hackers from Russia. Their own intent is sometimes to attack America as a state, with a view to bring down America, for example, or bring down China. So people do it with different intents, but Like I said, the Yahoo people mostly, so the Yahoo boys mostly do it to steal banking information or to get ahead of us financially. Okay, and then of course, like there's the Yahoo, and then the Yahoo, and then Yahoo Plus. These are various categories, funny categories that our fellow Nigerians brothers devise. I actually came across Yahoo in the last what 3 years, and Yahoo involves the use of black magic because some people believe that okay, they go to the native doctor that gives them this ultimate form of protection, okay, and then these are referred to as the Yahoo people, so that when they go online to steal victims' information, they will actually get it with ease, okay. So I hope I've answered your questions about Yahoo and how that relates to
Oh,
hackers and if they're hackers or not.
oh yeah, yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for that. A quick one. What's your
Yep.
own career path in cybersecurity, and how did you get started?
A very good question. For the last 20 years, since my early university days, I've always been interested in computers technology and how it works. Okay. And most of the stuff I've done was within that cybersecurity space. But it was not until the last, what, perhaps 10 years, I would say, I started coming across cybersecurity. So I keep seeing cybersecurity online. I started wondering, okay, what is cybersecurity? And sometimes I would ignore it, but it kept popping up whenever I was online doing research or one or two things. So I started doing research as to, okay, what is this cybersecurity? And I later realized that, oh, actually, I'm into cybersecurity, like as a practitioner, okay. But in the last 5 years, I began to specialize in the area of cyber security, and how I even like got more into it was I was browsing one day and I came across this organization called Cybersecurity Expert Association, CSHAN. It's a very good group that has. So when I came across them, I decided to do further digging as to what do they do, what is it, okay. So when I became more interested in participating, and then that's how I got to know more and more about cybersecurity. And then they told me, okay, every October month happens to be a month that has been designated by various countries around the world to be Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So what that means is countries or governments and private sector, they try to create conversations around cybersecurity awareness, general practices. And here in Nigeria, we are hoping that the government actually make it announce it to formalize that October month as a cybersecurity month, so that at that month we create more awareness through radio jingles, to television jingles, that okay, you as a market person, cybersecurity affects you. You as a student at the University of XYZ, cybersecurity affects you as a teacher, as a staff, as a parent. I mean, the other day, my younger sister, I was actually having a conversation with someone random person that just called online, and then they started asking for her banking information. So she said, okay, they have my date of birth, so it had to be genuine. I believe it or not, my mom just jumped into the conversation. She said, wait, hold on. Why? What are you doing? Then she basically told my younger sister that, look, you're not supposed to give out any banking information online, especially when it comes through a phone call like this. If you have any issues, you should go to the bank or you should call the bank yourself to verify. So back to how I got into cybersecurity. So the conversation moved on. So we started doing more on cybersecurity awareness advocacy. So every year of October, we actually identified schools and government organizations that we feel need this basic requisite knowledge in cybersecurity. So the more I did more of that awareness, the more people found that, okay, come and teach us more about, or come and talk to us about cybersecurity. I said, okay, no problem, and we're willing to pay you. I said, okay, money is not my motivation for doing what I do, but why not? So as the conversation moved on, we have been able. I was involved in 2017 on advising the federal government through the National Assembly, that's the Senate. So I was part of the committee that was inaugurated to advise the the National Assembly, because what they decided to do was they're trying to update the laws, make sure that we have the current laws. But then they discovered that there were gaps in between, because a lot of them are politicians coming from different backgrounds, and they needed to work with industry experts that can advise them on various trends and how they can make adequate laws. Then another thing I was involved in most recent term is, of course, I was involved in. I actually managed the committee of the team of experts that actually advised the federal government on developing a framework for, or rather, the operationalization of the cybersecurity strategy. So on higher level, we've got the Office of the National Security Advisor that's in charge of cybersecurity in this country. Okay, so I was, or rather, I'm involved in translating those strategies by the federal government into operationalization. Okay, taking all this construct that was developed by the NSA's office and translating them to various applicability for the government, and just more like a guide or a framework. Okay, so I hope I've answered your question on how I got into it. And moving on, still on how I got into it as a career path, I'm actually doing doctorate research in information systems with the American University of Nigeria. So I realized that later that cybersecurity is actually essential. So I tweaked my research to actually focus more on information security. So I actually published a paper like 2 months ago at an international conference where I looked at I evaluated the cyber information systems awareness. Okay, here my research interest looked at is still looking at what is the general awareness level of individuals, organization, what are the various methodologies, okay, that have been used. For example, there are various theories, academic theories that have been used to study information security. Information security and cybersecurity have been used interchangeably by different interest groups or different organizations. But the important thing is to understand is cybersecurity is a construct within information security. So some of the academic theories that have been used are theory of planned behavior, theory of deterrence, protection, motivation theory, technology acceptance model. So all these are various theories that have been used to study information or cybersecurity awareness level from the behavioral aspect. Okay, this deals with, okay, how do people behave, what's their motivation for doing what they do in organizations, what are the intentions, are they aware of what they need to do, or are they not aware? So these are some of the academic theories. But from my own, still on the because I understand some of the audience are still on the are coming from a cybersecurity background, so maybe I would like to talk a bit more into this. So my own research is looking at the interpretivist approach to cybersecurity. Okay, what that means is we're studying the interpretation. Okay, looking at cybersecurity not just from the technology level. No. We're looking at it from the socio-technical. Okay, from the interpretation of views of people. How do people view cybersecurity? So these are the the approach in which I'm looking at cybersecurity. And man, it's like the more I read up on this, the more I do research, the more I realize how very little I know about the whole body of knowledge. But then again, that's the beauty of knowledge and research. The more you read up, the more you do research, the more you realize how very little you know about that subject. But on the whole, you're building up on knowledge, your mental repository, you're building up on that. But it's I think it's a very, very rewarding field for me as a cybersecurity advocate, and I hope to continue on this career path. Okay, so I hope I've answered your questions, particularly on how I go into cybersecurity
Oh
as a
yeah,
person.
yeah. You did. Thank you very much, sir, for that. It's a cool one.
Yes.
For those that want to venture into it, you've heard the story. So just gotta do what he advised. All
Yes.
right, sir. Thank you very much for this. So we have some other questions, but it
Yes.
will be posted because of our time. It will be
Yep.
posted to you privately, so
Yes.
they will join our Telegram group so they can get their answer back.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir, for this wonderful webinar. We really appreciate you. We
Yes.
hope to have you again soonest.
Thank you very much. I would always be available to share my latest
All right.
experience
Okay,
with
sir. Thank you.
any topic.
All right. So the to the house, thank you very much for staying tuned for 1 hour plus. It's
Yes.
an amazing time. Trust me, I think the knowledge is quite the time is worth it. So this webinar will be posted to our YouTube channel. So if you want to watch and rewatch for you to motivate yourself and get going, oh well, yeah, we'll have it available for you. All right. Thank you guys. Please you can go on the social media, Twitter at Diary of Hackers, Telegram at Diary of Hackers, Instagram on Diary of Hackers, Facebook Diary of Hackers, and please spread the good news and let people know that cybersecurity is our shared responsibility. Okay, thank you very much, guys, for staying tuned. And see you next week. And for those that are already in our community, July will be having a hands-on session, so it will be a busy month for us. We'll be starting with either web hacking or operating system hacking. So do well to visit our Twitter page so as to get more information. Thank you very much, sir, Mr. Sadiq. Nasir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Moses. All right. No, we don't finish. Now, let me see. 1 hour plus. Online, ma. Kemarin juga kan dengan dia kan akan melakukan ada sama seperti